Celestita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and today we're reading Saturnastra Chalon. This is chapter, it was 30, right?
Yeah.
The scene after he spat out the bauble was rather pitiful, really. Let's roll the tape here. Shall we? Here we see Alphonse crying as he holds up nothing in thin air, and he says, "After all of these years, I am finally free." And Chalon wrote in his board, "It is only a day's work." "If I had known that all I had to do was reach down into my throat, I would have done so many years ago," said Alphonse, laughing. "It was stuffed with some sticky honey, and you were never going to dislodge it," explained Chalon. And Alphonse then threw the imaginary piece of glass on the floor, and he stepped on it, and smiling he said, "Now you will never hurt anyone ever again." And Chalon asked, "And what are you going to do now?" "I don't know. I think I'm going to set myself straight, and I can return home looking like this," said Alphonse, a little bit more composed. "I don't feel right about you living on the streets." And Chalon thought a moment, and then he added, "You should ask the gardening brothers, and they might hire you at the local bar, 'cause their flowers grow better with music." "I will do that then," said Alphonse, and he added, bowing, "and thank you from the bottom of my heart." And ever since that incident, Chalon had been playing music for the traveling merchants for free. And he has been in all of our rehearsals, and the court lady in question whom Sean had referred to was Alphonse's sister, Lady Scarlet Muse. And she had always known of her brother's whereabouts, but did not know how to help him, and she was not the type of person to stop someone from doing what they felt like. And she was in the audience dressed as a handmaiden, and her own handmaiden was dressed like a lady. And her maid was Bridget, and the two had grown up together and were very close, and Lady Scarlet had even paid Bridget's dowry. And Bridget still worked for Lady Scarlet, but more out of habit than anything else. And since Bridget had failed to conceive children, she took care of Lady Scarlet's brood as if they were her own. By now everyone was seated, and the sounds went from murmurs to coughs to the annoying bodily noises, and then finally silence. And well, there was not true silence per se. There was the noise from the rustling of the nearby street, and the torches from the walls provided the stage light. And the play started with the piano, and Alphonse closed his eyes, and he started doing an improvisation on the word that he had practiced. And after weaving off tangent, he opened his eyes and he started following the music sheet. And sitting on top of the piano was a little boy, and his only job was to turn the pages. And despite much practice, Alphonse did not have the music memorized, and still he could follow dexterously enough with his nimble fingers. And his sister had the same hands as well as the gray eyes, and both had aged rather quickly due to the suffering caused by Alphonse's malady. And while Scarlet had a round feminine face, it was marred with countless lines of suffering, and her brother too had a haggard look on his face, with the sunken cheekbones of not eating well, and a somewhat hunched back from sleeping on the floor for so many years. And while playing the overture, he took a furtive look at the audience, and he recognized his sister in the audience. And this recognition made him grin a little, and his nostrils took a lighter, more fluid pace, and his playing became more relaxed. The other instruments soon joined in, and the play finally began. The curtain rose slowly, and the audience study was to build up suspense. And the truth of the matter was that the pulley system was malfunctioning. Like the curtain rose slowly because it wasn't working well. Eventually, the curtain did finish rising. And at first the audience saw two pairs of small feet, and then they were soon followed by a part of the skirt, then the delicate hands, and then the rest of Misty. Since the raising of the curtain was delayed, Alphonse gave the notes a bit of a longer intonation. And the musicians were trained to do the same, and this was a bit of the gambit they had practiced in case of unexpected delays. And when everything was at a normal speed, Misty started with her little footwork, and it reminded Chalon of the dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. And Misty stretched her hands forward with quite the gleeful expression on her face, and when she smiled, Misty always showed a little bit too much teeth, and this highlighted the fact that they were all uneven, and despite this defect, they were all pure as pearls. And those who were sharper, who were sharper of hearing could discern the fact that Misty was humming the piano song to herself. And it was a bit of a habit she had no control of, and since it was barely audible, it was tolerated. And from the little tippy-toe movement, she started turning, and as she moved to the stage from left to right, and when she reached the left side of the stage, Sean stepped forward, and as he advanced, she retreated till she was towards the right. And from the right advanced Chalon, and when she moved back, another dancer joined in the stage, and this dancer was Kate, the disguise of her brother. And she was taking his place as he was still recuperating, and soon other male dancers joined the stage, and they were not as skilled as Chalon, Kay, or Sean, but they provided a reliable arrangement. And a couple were former slave elves, and two were dwarves who who wanted to be taken seriously, and the last 4 were giant children ages 7 and 10. And when the dwarves entered the scene, some of the audience started laughing, and the dwarves stoically ignored them, and they continued advancing while dancing. And when the circle around Misty was tight, and she brought out a fan that was hidden under the back of her dress, and with this she started little dance motions, and she would fan away all of her eager suitors. And as she did, her leg combinations became more complicated, and when all the male dancers were pushed back, she stood in the center, gently turning in circles, and she eventually stopped, and she closed her fan, and she pointed at the first suitor. The first one was one of the extras, and he did some mad acrobatics, to which Misty responded in kind. And to push him back, she did an attempt the Poussin jump, and followed by a grand jet, and concluding when I passed the shot. And when she brought out her fan again, she started tippy-toeing her way back to her original starting position. And the same scene repeated itself, and this time with larger numbers of suitors working in unison, and for the sake of brevity, she had dispatched the main box in about 3 minutes, and when it came time for Kay, her movement set was a little bit more gymnastics. In this world, a lot of gymnastic moves have gotten integrated into the dance form that we know as ballet in our world. And in one of her turns, Kay had held up her leg with one hand outstretched, and she managed this move build-up. And she managed this move building up on the momentum of a regular turn, and she timed it in such a way as to face Misty, and before bowing, while keeping the leg touching her head. And in response to this challenge, Misty removed the sash of her dress, which stretched a couple of meters in length, and she tied it to her fan. And then she used it as a baton, and she changed her dance into a little routine reminiscent of rhythmic gymnastics. So gymnastics in Saturnastra fused with ballet. So like being a ballerina is even harder in that world. When she concluded this little duo, Misty inspired plenty of clapping from the audience, and in response to her gymnastics, Sean started his routine, and he opened with a somewhat standard back handspring, which evolved into a back somersault, and Misty circled around her fan with her little string and drew nearer to show her she was impressed. And then she looked at Chalon, who drew her string around him to encourage him to do something amazing. And Chalon was supposed to mimic Sean's movement, but in a clumsier fashion. And instead, Chalon did a combination of cartwheel to his jumps evolved into a sideways scissors leap. And then he added a couple of layabouts with a 180-degree turn at the end. And Chalon was capable of more acrobatic feats, but the trick to being impressive in the human world was keeping his dance moves impressive but believable. Sean knew he could not beat Chalon in acrobatics. He still remembered that one time he found Chalon contorted hiding inside a little box. And what was he hiding in that box in the first place? Well, at the time it seemed like something fun to do, and he spent the entire day trying to contort his frame into different crevices all over the camp to freak people out, to freak out whoever found him. So like, you open a door, and then he's Chalon contorted. He's just like a cat. He's like a cat, like in being fluid, being able. You know how cats fit in like weird places in weird contortion. Yeah, he was doing a cat bit. Sean folded his hand and he thought a moment, and it was then when he arrived to a singular idea. To carry out his plan, he did a combination and a dismount of the stage. And then he came to one of the nearby violinists and took his instrument, and still holding it up, he jumped back into the stage and using the spring that one of the people working under the stage provided him. And he did a forward jump with a half twist with his back tucked, and this jump did not require the use of his hands. And when he was on stage, Sean played a fast combination of music, and then he pointed at Chalon with the bowl of the violin. And Chalon came close to him to take the violin, and Sean stepped back, and then he said, "Get your own." And I said, see, I played the violin, and then be like, "Can I borrow your violin?" No. This got some of the chuckles from the crowd, and seemingly annoyed Misty placed her palm to her face, and she shook her head sadly. Because they got a script and now they're like just fighting. Just regular fighting nonsense. But not like fighting in like fisticuffs, but more like one-upping each other, you know.
It's more bickering than fighting.
Bickering than fighting. You know how guys get whenever they're competing for attention. This got some chuckles from the crowd and seemingly annoyed me. Oh yeah. She then folded her hands and waited for Chalon to be booted out of the stage, and in the meantime, the main instruments had stopped playing, and only Alphonse was playing music, and since he had started her improvisation, he punctuated the scenes he saw with his piano, And never skipping a beat, he watched Chalon and company like a hawk, and now he was playing a light note to make the entire scene seem more like a comedy. And it was just about anything to save the situation, though in reality the play was supposed to have been very serious. And to depart the stage, Chalon dismount started as a cartwheel, which transitioned into a jump with a bad tuck. And when Chalon came to the musician held on to his violin protectively, and he said to Chalon, "Enough is enough, just follow the script before the audience realizes that this isn't part of the show." And Chalon walked to the other side of the stage, and again the violinist refused to give him his instrument. And annoyed, Chalon removed his silly hat, and he got out a violin from within him. And to get back onto the stage, Chalon ran a bit and did a forward tuck jump with a half twist, and the person that had put it out the trampoline had been half tempted with removing it to mess with Chalon's jump, and in the end he decided not to do so. And to keep things short, Chalon played a portion of the fourth movement of Bartók's sonata for solo violin, and those who were familiar with the instrument understood the difficulty of it, and Chalon only played the first half of the movement and then the finisher, and he was not too keen on the mero allegro portion of it, which he detested, and he might have picked out something a little more thematic, but he was being put on the spotlight, and he knew that Sean was testing him and he was not about to lose. And indeed it was quite a petty situation, and the novice with a pocket watch and a pamphlet knew that this opening night had already lasted 10 minutes more than was scheduled. And Lady Scarlet imagined that Chalon and Charles were truly pining after Misty's affection, and what else could explain why one of the dancers had not vacated the premises, as per required by the script. And this play was about love was based on the popular story about her, and in order for the story to progress, one of the two had to give in, and instead of playing music, Sean opened his mouth and he sang in a loud, strong tenor voice, "Meow." And Sean knew that Chalon could only use his telepathy with one person at a time, and he guessed after seeing many interactions of Chalon in the past, so then he just sang because he knew that Chalon couldn't sing. Chalon narrowed his eyes and he left the stage. And when he got Misty breathed a sigh of relief, and as some returned to follow the script, and the play resumed with Chalon already playing his part. At least he had his 20 minutes of fame or whatever. Time, bro?
11 minutes.
Waiting for him on the other side of the curtain was Kate, and she was already dressed for the next part of the scene, and folding her arms, she said, "Why must you always be so difficult when Sean is around?" And from inside his eyes, Chalon brought out his board and chalk, and he scribbled down, "He's the one who started it." "Is he thinking bad thoughts about you? I can have Grandpa look into the matter," said Kay. "It won't be necessary," wrote Chalon, and he added, "There are some things that cannot be helped." "You're always right that whenever you don't want to deal with a problem," commented Kay. "You can read me like a book," wrote Chalon, and he added, smiling at the end of his sentence. And Kay looked at the smiley face, and then at Chalon's dour look on his face, and noting the time, she said, "We can deal with your nonsense tomorrow, and for now just do whatever it is you usually do at this hour of the night." "Grave robbing," wrote Chalon. "It isn't so much as grave robbing if our ancestors, is it not?" said Kay. "I still think it counts," wrote Chalon more to himself. And in response to Kay's inquiry, he simply shrugged his shoulder, and he left the stage and he went to the changing room, and he neatly folded the clothing provided to him for his performance, and from within his silly hat he brought out his current change of clothing, and one of the stagers had prepared for him a tub of hot water, and during the morning Chalon preferred cold water, and at night he preferred a warm bath. And before entering, he rinsed himself over the tub with one bucket, and then he cleaned himself with soap before removing it over the tub with a second bucket that had been provided. And when he felt relatively clean, he went to enter the bath to soak and mope a little bit. He gently stroked the surface of the water with his index finger and thumb, and he sighed a little, and he thought that even with 30 hours, there was barely enough time to do everything he wanted. And he pondered a bit on the following day, and if things went well, they would perform for the nobles, and this would require a bit more finery, and he would probably spend the entire day helping the seamstress. And there was also the continuation of the editions of the play, and he might also have to help Sean a bit with his morning routines. And if everything went well, he would get a little time to do whatever he wanted, and he closed his eyes and he thought a moment, and by focusing on his breathing, he was able to stretch a single moment to infinity. And to time this little trance, he stretched his hands, and he would snap out of it as soon as a single water droplet fell into the water. And this change in perception had its own problems, and there were two types of things in this world. And there are things that seem to stand still because they move so slow, but there are also the latter, and of the roaming little speed demons to which everything stood still. To them humans were like plants, and the flap of the can opened and closed rather swiftly, and inside there came a fellow with eyes the color of amber, and the iris covered the entire eyes, and the people was horizontal like those of a goat. And the person wore a type of kimono, and his hands and feet were long and thin, and he walked on his tippy toes. And he stopped a moment to look at Chalon, and from his small mouth it emitted a very faint sound noise, and with his heightened perception Chalon noted that it was speaking in a strange language. And Chalon had heard of these people, but he had never seen them in the flesh, and they were known as the sea people, and they were quiet dwellers like the trolls, and aside from Chalon's people, only the king Bersamer was aware of their existence. And the sea rarely took an interest in the happenings of the people in the above world, and for them humans were just like snails, and humans were very rarely took an interest in the life of a snail. It's like there are species of people that are all speed demons. So then they perceive humans going about their businesses the same way that humans perceive snails doing their stuff, And since we're going uber slow about everything, they just they don't take an interest in what we're doing. Aside from the humanoid beings, there was another subspecies of beings that fell under the sea category, and anything that moved as quickly as they did consider them sea creatures. And the sea person said to Chalon, "Are you a snail? And yet I see that you can perceive me." And using his telepathy, Chalon said, "Hello to you as well." "I saw your jumps in the play and wanted to get a better look at you," said the sea person. "I suppose falling is quick enough for you folks to catch on," commented Chalon. "Seems like it indeed, though I can imagine the patience you must exert to live among these slowpokes," said the sea person. "It is not so bad. It is all a matter of changing your point of view of the world," said Chalon. The conversation ended when the water droplet fell, and since the sea person was standing still, the Stachian was able to see it, and taking a step back and falling, he said, "Whoa, what the hell is that?" And in response, the sea person returned home, and the only hint of his presence was the flapping curtain of the entrance to the tent. And it was this visit of the sea person which allowed Chalon to finally remember last night's dream. Time, bro?
In 6 minutes.
He had been trying to remember it all day, and this was part of the reason why he was half distracted at times, and he was getting remembering and putting a pin on it for the subject matter. And as it happens, people usually have several dreams during the long period of the night, and people usually only remember the last one, and Chalon was keen on remembering the middle dream. And unlike many of his peers, Chalon had a curiosity about the ancient past and the worlds as well, and this dream took place in the original planet Earth, and it was the year 1960 or the other. And he saw that there was a young maiden in a strange facility, and when she passed by the entrance, he read that it was an insane asylum, and she was being taken out from there on a wheelchair, and she was placed inside a vehicle, and from there she was taken to a military building. And the general who was looking at her frowned, and he told one of his men, "How do we snap her out of it?" "Just put her on the computer, and that is what her handler stipulated," explained the cadet. And based on the uniform of the soldiers, they were a peer from the U.S., and most people in the world of Chalon had no physical records of planet Earth, and the world had been destroyed many years ago. Ironically, the only thing that survived of the world was the moon of all things, and it is in pieces, but its fragments still do moon things. Now back to the 1960s of the dream world, and the soldiers and the doctor brought the girl in front of a computer, and she blinked twice and then said, "What, can I play?" "First you have to help us with this program," said the doctor. "I must know the nature of the program if I am to work with it," said the girl. And they removed the straitjacket, revealing her bony frame, and the computer was somewhat of a behemoth, and it was an IBM System 360, and the program was written in Fortran of all things. And the girl looked at the program over the top, and she took the nearby notes and referenced all of the key components that were highlighted by the previous programmer. And she bit her right index finger and pulled with her left hand her hair. And shaking her head a little, she said, "This is no good. It would be easier if we had the 37000." The doctor took the hand of the girl, and he removed from her hair and said, a soothing voice, "These are what they are, and the 370 is not scheduled to come out till next year." "Yes, but it will really not matter, and I will do what I can," said the girl. And the girl started her work, and the military personnel left her in the care of the doctor, and one of the cadets said, "Should we tell her what's going on?" The girl is nuts, and if we strain her your nerves with information, she might just break, and then it will be all over," said the general. "But a woman, is she truly the best we got?" said the cadet. "Woman, man, considering the gravity of the situation, we need not scoff at the source for talent," said the general, and he added, "and should she fail to make any progress in the allotted time, we will tell her the truth." And in the meantime, the girl was working on a different task, and she was trying to create a Monopoly program using Fortran, and the doctor asked her, "How goes the task?" "It's going," said the girl. "I just need to add a few lines of code from my original program, and for that I can pick up where I left off. Given a couple of months, I will finish it." "I don't think we have a couple of months. The sooner you complete it, the better," said the doctor, frowning. And a day passed, and the girl had a gleeful smile on her face, and it had been ages since she had touched a computer, and she was both a patient and a prisoner at the asylum, and she had been arrested because she was a hacker. And during the trial, her condition deteriorated, and eventually she was no longer lucid enough to testify in her own defense. And instead of being sent to prison, she had been sent to an asylum, and over the years she had gotten worse and worse till she was lethargic. And it was only recently that her doctor realized that she needed computers to keep a hold on her sanity. And she was at least talking, though the bodily harm was still disconcerting, but treatable nonetheless. And 2 days passed, and the military brass was getting concerned, and in the end the general decided to have a frank conversation with the girl. And she was brought before him, and he had a recorder already out, and he said to her, "What you are about to see is top secret. You must not tell a soul." If I did tell someone, nobody's going to believe me anyway," said the girl, laughing. The general played a movie, and he shot a cylinder on top of Las Vegas, and he then shot the city with a strong gust of wind, and the girl was impressed, and she said, "Wow, the production value of the movie is amazing. Who made it? Stanley Kubrick? And do you have Barbarella or Thunderball? And they only show Disney films in the madhouse, and the lack of variety is enough to drive one to madness." The gentleman changed the tape, and he followed another city, and this time the cylinder dropped a bunch of dirt over the city of London. And someone concerned, the girl said, "There has to be a point to this, right?" The rocks being thrown over the city caused the cameraman to seek shelter, and other than being trapped indoors, he was pretty much unarmed. And the following tape was a new province in the Bahamas, and instead of dropping earth, the camera showed a torrent of water. And the camera person was sucked up, and the frowning, the girl said, "Well, that seems a little bit extreme for a whole movie, don't you think? The effect is easily duplicated with some water and some glass for separation." And the general showed another tape from the Bahamas. And this one was from a security surveillance from one of the hotels, and it showed the entire hotel getting flooded, and some of the workers got swept away. And the general continued as thus, showing different takes of the devastation on the Bahamas, and it eventually dawned on the girl that what she was seeing was real and not a movie. The last tape showed an American plane shooting down the spacecraft, and when it struck the ground, it exploded, releasing all of its water cargo. And the girl took both her hands to her head, and looking down and shaking her head, she said, "This can't be real." "It is. This strange invader seems to be trying to find a way to utterly eradicate us. It tried different elements, and now I fear that what will happen when he decides to try fire on us. And we have already alerted everyone that can do something about it." "Even the Reds?" asked the girl. "Especially the Reds. And this is a danger that affects us as an entire species, and it will be foolish to wait and see what happens. And we need you to complete that program so that we might be able to predict where it will strike next. And the spaceships go down easily enough, but we do not know how many they have or where they will strike. Till we discover the hiding spot of the mansions, we will only be able to act defensively," said the general. Alright, so we'll continue Chalon's crazy dream later. Bye-bye.